Hello folks, and welcome to Linux for Seniors. And you're probably wondering, hey, didn't I click on this thing that said Ubuntu on it? Actually, you did. So Linux Mint is also an Ubuntu-based system, Ubuntu Debian-based system. But anyways, I am going to be showing you Ubuntu here in a second. I'm going to give you a comprehensive tour, and I'll give you some tips along the way also. Anyways, folks, welcome. And I do encourage that you subscribe. I've been doing this for my previous videos just to allow people to get some tips if you subscribe, because none of my videos are going to be under 2 minutes. My previous channel, I just started this one on February 9th, 2023. My previous channel had over 450 videos. So since my videos are more than 2 minutes, hit subscribe. That way you can start watching this and other videos that I have. I have currently about 30 some odd in there. And that way you can stop it at any time, come back tomorrow, the next day, following week, and click on resume so you can finish watching it. And you'll have access to my other videos. So Linux for Seniors, my intent is to try to make simple videos. Linux is for any age though, so I'm trying to use very simple language when I explain my stuff, hence why these things are so long. A couple of things that I'm going to point out that I just recommend if you have the capability of watching my videos on a large screen, I would encourage that you do that. Since when you're watching these on mobile screens, such as your smartphones, usually the screens are too small. I'll give you an undocumented feature also with Firefox. This is a Firefox web browser. I'm going to do this, and you're probably wondering, how am I resizing the text? Some folks already know how to do this, but I'm holding down my control key down while scrolling using my computer mouse. You can also do this in your file managers for the most part. And I'm going to show you that you can do that with the Ubuntu file manager. The file manager for this distribution is Nemo, and that works there too. So again, I started this on Feb 9, and I have some links in here for you. If you're interested in mouse pointers like that, I have several videos also. This is a non-profit website, gnome-look.org, and there's also themes in there. DistroWatch if you're looking for different Linux distros, and some other Linux information here. So I have currently 7 links. Up at the top, if you're using a standard web browser, most users miss this. Right up here are 5 more links. That's a limitation of YouTube. I can only put 5 links in here. DistroWatch is right here, and that foot is gnome-look.org, where you can get these mouse pointers and themes. That's the coast of Oregon if you're curious. Oregon, USA. So the videos are here. You can scroll through them manually, or as this video library grows. I believe there's 32 videos in there. As this library gets to, when you get to about 100, it's kind of tedious scrolling. So if you're using a standard web browser, you can use that magnifying glass and do keyword searches. I'll type in the word mouse. It finds every video that has the word mouse in it. Okay, so if I were to put in like Mint for like Linux Mint, it'll find all the videos on Linux Mint, including the XFCE desktop, because I didn't specify that. I just said Mint. It's looking for the word Mint. Get that? Get the idea there? Okay, so magnifying glass is only available again on a standard web browser. If you're watching this on a mobile device, you normally only have the regular search feature, which is all of YouTube. The other thing too is I'm going to make mention of this as fun. If you are wanting to watch this on your large smart TVs, if you have the YouTube app, go find me there. And maybe you have a laptop that you're trying your Linux distribution on, and you find a video on your Linux distro that you're trying to follow along. You can watch it on your big screen TV if you like. That way you don't have to use your screen on your laptop, for instance. Just a little tip. Speaking of a weird tip, sometimes I throw things in the community tab. And I just thought I'd toss that out for the folks that have smartphones. Now I'll leave this up. You can actually pause this video too if you're wanting to grab your phone. And more importantly, I'll just give you the example of an iPhone. Open up your iPhone camera and point that camera at that QR code. You'll see a yellow box populate somewhere on your screen, and you'll just click it and it'll take you directly to this YouTube site, and you can bookmark it and tell your friends and family. Linux is really for everyone. And more importantly, yes, I'm making this for seniors, and certainly anyone is welcome to watch. I think I'm pretty much done, other than to re-encourage that you subscribe. Now, what'd you come here for? You came here for this. This is Ubuntu. So I'm going to log back in here because I was asleep. All right, I'm going to make this full screen. And I'll wait for that to resize. And more importantly, you probably see what resolution I'm using, but I'll point that out a little bit later. So this is Ubuntu. So let's get some system information out of the way. And some of these commands, I can actually show you how simple it is to install them using terminal. And just to break the ice, I'll even show a couple of more commands a little bit later on for installation of these commands. So I'm going to use the word neofetch to basically display system information. So that's the Ubuntu logo. This is Ubuntu 2204.2, brand new, LTS. I just downloaded this version. So GNOME 42.5. Forget about the hardware part. Okay, so I'm going to punch up clear. So that's a literal command for clearing that screen. Simple commands in here to try to get you comfortable with some terminal commands. Not that you need to use them, but I'm going to try to get you comfortable with a little bit of things as you grow with Linux, if you're a brand new user to Linux. I'm going to type in cal, as in calendar. It's going to give me a calendar, and you have one here. I have some events to talk about in a minute. But this calendar here can do some powerful things, like this, cal, FEB for February. Name a year. Do you have a friend born 1961? Your friend born February 1961 was born, say, on the 23rd. They were born on a Thursday. Let me do another one for you. Cal. This time a number, like 1, space. We'll go with 1987. January of 1987's calendar. Do you have a friend born in January of 1987? Let's say on the 21st, they were born on a Wednesday. You can have fun with your friends and family doing this. Now, if you've been seeing any of my videos, you probably know that I'm going to do a little bit of a trivia right about now, using only that command there. For you folks born in the United States, July 4th, 1776 is Independence Day. What day of the week did that fall on? We all can look this up on the internet using a web browser. However, your terminal box can do this in 1 second. July 4th, 1776 fell in on a Thursday. Having some fun with cal. I can show you how to install that a little bit later. I'm going to close that. And let's talk about the point and click stuff. All right, starting at the top, you got a multi-function box up here. You got your volume thing. You could have your wired or wireless thing. You got balance power or power settings. You also have settings, which just brings a full box up, and depending on where you last left it, you can walk from top to bottom. And you can also get system information down here. I wanted to point this out that I'm using a Wayland desktop windowing system. What does that mean? Now, I'm going to give you one example if you're using a Wayland windowing system, is if you are trying to use simple screen recorder to record the video on the screen using a video and sound. It won't work on Wayland. It will work on X11. So what's an X11? So what I'm going to do here, since I can do this in a virtual machine, and that's a prime example of doing that while I'm filming, is I'm going to log out manually. So I'm going to log out. And my username is Tman. You can see the Ubuntu logo here. So I want you to watch this area here where I'm twirling my mouse. There's nothing here currently until I click this icon for my user. Then a gearbox appears out of nowhere. That gearbox has two little choices. The Ubuntu part is the Wayland windowing system, and this is Xorg or X11. So I'm going to use that one briefly and put in my password. It's the same password, of course. So mainly what I'm looking for here is, pardon me, is it says X11 on it. Now if I had that simple screen recorder program installed, it would work. Does that make sense so far? Hopefully. There might be some other applications out there, but I'm just pulling that on the top of my head. So what I'm going to do is log out again, and then click the T-Man guy and click the gear symbol and pick Ubuntu this time. This is how your normal desktop boots in. So we're going to click in and use the same password. So again, I actually installed it inside of the file manager, hence it does have a username and password as a simulator. And it's not like demo or anything like that. So, but more importantly, I'm simulating like you would have it installed. That's all I'm doing here. So I think I covered most of this stuff other than the lock and the power and restart is all self-explanatory. So this calendar thing in the center, I have some events. Now I'm going to go a little bit out of order. Instead of talking about these, I'm going to open up the calendar so you can see where these events are. So I'm going to open this show application. It looks like a grid. And it's this application right here. That one with a 28 on it. Okay, so that just represents the icon. It's not the today's date. Today's date is the 22nd when I'm filming this. You can actually see that at the top. So what is this calendar? Well, this is the one built in to Ubuntu. It just says calendar on it. It gets its weather from this Norwegian meter. Well, okay, it gets the weather information if you want to use it from that source. And I have mine turned on currently, and you can probably see it's very small, but there's 3 lines here with weather information on it. And yes, it is actually snowing. So, so anyways, let me click that hamburger menu, as some people call it. You also have online accounts. So if you have I'll just use the Ubuntu or Google, because I have used that Google part, and it does populate the calendar. Can't say about all the services because I don't use a lot of these services. But that's, you would just log in, and technically all your data will pull into here as far as your calendars are concerned. These I manually put in, and I'll talk about those in a minute. All right, so we have a couple of shortcuts. If you're fairly new to computers and Linux in general, because nowadays Linux are like point and click, like Microsoft, practically, except I got the benefit of using terminal to do other stuff if I want to. A lot of people go, I don't want to use terminal. You know, for the most part, you don't have to. So Control N, all that means is hold the Control key down and press the N key. And that does a new event, for instance, in this application. A lot of people know this information, and I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence. I'm just trying to cover all bases. All right, so I think I covered these. We have some birthday, anniversary things, synchronized calendar, and managed calendars. We have a little search feature here, and then you can display this in 3 different formats. One of the reasons I'm spending so much time on this calendar, because I just produced several videos that are on large calendars for seniors. You may want to go look through those for different distributions. So what is this arrow back and forth thing? That's your month. So now that's March. That's back to February. That plus thing here is adding a new event. And today is basically you can be anywhere in the calendar, and you click that when you get into the weeds. Let's say you're in April, June, you're here doing something. And I didn't mean to click the event, but anyways, this will go back to whatever today's date is. That's all that means. So you can click that plus thing, just pay attention to your times and dates. Or you can do one better. You can just find a date and click on it and then add your event. I will, I'll do one for, I don't know, oil change. I don't know. On car. I'm just using that just as anything to throw out. All right. So you probably don't want that as a all-day event. You would probably want to plug in some times, right? You probably don't want it to repeat, but I wanted to let you see the boxes. So you could do it daily, Monday through Friday, weekly, monthly, and yearly. That comes in handy for birthdays, for instance, or paying the rent monthly, you know, that kind of stuff. All right. So you have no repeat here. This would be a single event. And then you can throw in some notes. If you need to edit those notes later, my suggestion is just delete the event after you create it and then recreate it. It's faster than trying to figure this stuff out. Okay? So I'm going to hit cancel. Now I'm going to click on Bob's birthday. So Bob's birthday, I obviously want yearly if I'm doing this on a real calendar. So basically that is set to repeat yearly forever, or until you set something different. So birthdays you more likely want all day. If this is a doctor's appointment, you probably want start and end times. Again, notes. All right, so all of these are set the same way. So they all will repeat. Okay, and you can put in some extra notes if you want, like maybe the year they were born or whatever it might be. They're just text boxes, as all they are. So those are set to repeat yearly. This is a single event, but it spans 3 days. So I'm going to click subscribe to Linux for Seniors. Hopefully you will. So I have it set for all day, starting today, going through Friday. You can just click these. You get a calendar. You get a little drop down. You get the idea, hopefully. It does not repeat. That means it's a single event. I could put in notes if I want to also. I could also delete the event. So basically, what are these good for? Well, let's say you want to remind yourself you're going to be going for a whole week to go visit the kids or something for a future date. Yeah, whatever. All right. So I'm just throwing things out at you. So this car wash thing, what is that about? Well, I'm just putting in a reminder to wash the car once a month, for instance, and repeat it forever. So basically, if I go to March, I'm going to see wash the car in March and then April on the same day. I also wanted to let you see that I have one here that says pay rent. So I created another one that says a pay rent or house payment. Threw up a couple of dollar signs. It's an all-day event, and I repeated it monthly forever. You know, I don't know when you pay your rent, or even if you have rent payments or whatever, but you can plug that into any dates and have it repeat it monthly as a reminder. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this calendar. That's one of the reasons I spent some time on it. And it populates the events in here. There's the event for that, and click back in here, and not sure what happened on that. There we go. And so I can go back over here, and there's the pay rent and whatever. Okay. And here's another rent, and this will be the car wash because it repeats monthly. So if I were to cycle this completely over to next year, this is 2024. We have rent, and we go to February. We have some birthdays. Lots of birthdays. You got Bob, Mary, and Sam's birthdays. Got to get a lot of cards. You get the idea? Okay, simple calendar. All right, I'll do the right-clicking on the desktop last. There's some functions there, so I'm going to walk through the menu real quick. Firefox, a web browser, self-explanatory. You can add other web browsers. Your Thunderbird is an email client, so that's for email. Your files is your file manager. Your file manager for this distribution is Files. If you click the website, it'll say Nautilus. I do have internet access. That's the name of this file manager. If you have operated, let's say, Linux Mint, which is a Debian Ubuntu-based or Ubuntu Debian-based system, that file manager is called Nemo. I can also perform the same magic in this one that I can in Nemo. What am I doing here? I'm doing my special trick of holding down the control key with my left hand while holding my right hand on my computer mouse and using the scroll wheel to go up and down. This comes in handy when you're looking at photos. I'm going to hold the control key and resize these icons to whatever is comfortable for me. I release the control key and now they'll stay in this resize and I can scroll up and down. If I had more photos, it'll be a better example. So here's a good time to maybe discuss some digital photos of your children, your pets, your friends, or even wallpaper off the internet. Place it in a folder. It doesn't have to be in pictures. It could be anywhere. Just any one of your folders. Right-click on it. Set as wallpaper. Okay, if you got regular files too, you can also compress them. All right, so I'm not going to get into all the features of this file manager, but just wanted to point this out at you. Your home folder is where all your folders are. I'm going to resize those my way. You can also go up here and you can click the different views. You can also click the zoom in and out. You can probably see why my method is a little bit faster than trying to click on these things by just doing what I'm doing right now. Okay, your choice though. Different ways of viewing your icons. So again, that's your file manager files. Okay, I'm going to close that and continue. Rhythm box. Oh, and by the way, yes, I should have made mention of that. So it doesn't matter if you open up your home folder here. This is still your home folder. You have your trash can also here. You have another shortcut to your trash here. There's multiple shortcuts everywhere here. So Rhythm Box is a music player. I think I only have 2 songs. So if you put a bunch of songs, I'll drag this to the side, into your music area, and as soon as you open up Rhythm Box, it starts importing them, and then you can start creating playlists, if you want playlists. All right, what's this thing here? LibreOffice Writer. Some of you folks are familiar with this thing. It's a word processor, very similar to Microsoft Word. Except one good thing about LibreOffice that is different from Microsoft. It's free. This is version 7.3. There is a 7.4 on some distributions. However, this one has plenty of bells and whistles. I'm going to type in the word test and put an extra T in there and hit space. I get the squiggly. It's misspelled. It's taking a guess. I want the word test. It's got a lot of different buttons. You can also save as something different than ODT, like Microsoft equivalent files, like .doc or .docx. Boy, I know I could say that. Also text files. Although I use a text editor for the most part when I create standard text files. So this has a lot to offer you. The best price on this, of course, it's free. It does have a full suite. And I'll get to that when I get to the show all applications. So let's stop off at the software manager for a second. It's a very pleasant interface, very nice rounded corners on this thing. You can also resize this. So just going to grab a little bit down there. It'll show you installed and you can uninstall. You can explore, you can search. This is a program that I use pretty heavily. GNU image manipulation program, which is a mouthful to say. A shortcut for that would be GIMP. It's also available on Microsoft Windows and Macs. It looks like this, and it can be a learning curve, but actually it's fairly intuitive. I use it heavily to edit the thumbnails on my old YouTube site, which there are 450 of them, and my new YouTube site, which are currently sitting at about 32, but I'm still using this. If you need to install anything with Ubuntu, there's a green install key. If you're using the software manager, you can also install software using terminal. I'll show that last if you're interested. There's simple commands I'm going to show. Linux Mint is also a green install key. Nice correlation there. Lots of different software, a lot of different categories. Be patient when you click on these things. It will populate the icons. Sometimes it'll take a couple of minutes. Sometimes you click out and back in and all of a sudden the icons all populate at once. Okay? Just wanted to point that out. You got a help thing here. Install. Why do I have an install? Because again, I'm running this in a virtual machine. And trash can. Do I need to use this trash can here? No, you can open up your home and your trash is also here. And you can open this and your trash is here. It's the same trash can. Let's move downstairs and go down here and talk about what comes installed. I only installed one application in here. Everything else in here came installed. You have a calculator program, a text editor. Again, text editors don't have spell checkers. Document scanner, system monitor. You have terminal. Even terminal has its own monitor that's built into every Linux distribution. So for your seniors out there, I'll give you a little trivia. If you remember this movie, Topper, it's about a guy that has a ghost that, and it's a comedy. Look up it was 2 or 3 movies called Topper. So some of you folks may remember that. That's how you can remember this command. Top for Topper. It's a process monitor. So that's built into just about every Linux distribution. There's also HTOP, which you can install. It has some extra bells and whistles. All right, so here's LibreOffice, the full suite, minus the database. I'm sure you can probably download that also. So Writer, LibreOffice Writer is also a shortcut here. This is a presentation, spreadsheet, drawing, and math. A very decent Office suite. I actually have this on my Mac. Yes, I also have a Mac machine. And I will close that. So where did I leave off? Okay, so some of these are part of that suite. They're pulled out as icons. You have the shortcut to the LibreOffice Writer. Here's the spreadsheet one and the draw program here. And also this presentation one. Now this box here represents several things. This one I installed. I'll show you why I installed that in a second. Because what I'm going to do is I can use a command inside of here to move the close buttons to the left side of the screen. So basically there's two tabs in here. So basically you also have an arrow that magically appears out of nowhere. So if it had a third one, it'll have an arrow here. So now if I go on this side, you see the magic arrow. So you don't have to aim for the dot. But more importantly, this is what that contains in there. So if you have disks, you can open this up, and this should be a GNOME disk utility. It's a very powerful tool. If you look for my video for Linux for disks, I don't remember if I called it Linux Mint or just a formatting disk or disk utility. I have an example of using this utility in very detailed format. Pardon me, a little dry throat there. Need another coffee. Anyways, move along. Here's another couple of games. Cheese is for your video cameras, and I'm just going to skip over most of this stuff and talk about settings for a second. Not going to dwell on it for a long time, okay? So you have some keyboard shortcuts in your settings. Again, hold the control and press the Q is what that means. Starting at the top, your network. Do you have wireless or is it wired? Mine is wired because I'm using a virtual machine that's connected to my other wireless card, and it treats it that way. You would, if you're using a Wi-Fi, it will appear in here. Bluetooth is Bluetooth. I currently don't have any. Here's your backgrounds. You can also right-click on the screen and change background. Same dialog box. So this comes with the system as is, and don't forget you can also bring in your own photos of your children, your pets, your friends, or even some other digital photo like that one, and set it as wallpaper. Appearance. Do you want a light theme or a dark theme? Your choice. Different colors, sizes, position of icons. A lot of personal settings are in here. Icon sizing. Notifications, going to skip over, but anyways, it's on or off basically. So something when you're searching is going to activate these categories that it's searching. Multitasking, applications, most of them are notifications when you click on them. Privacy settings has several categories. Online accounts. Remember when I opened up the calendar, it actually opened this page. Again, you can sign in with if you have an account with one of these folks. And then if you have an account with, I'll give you an example of Google, for instance, like Gmail, it'll pull the Gmail calendar right into here and into that big monster calendar. File sharing, not going to cover. Sound, Well, do you have input devices or other stuff? Well, then they'll populate in here. Your power setting, if you're wondering why your screen went black or blank after 5 minutes, here's why. Change that if you want to. Displays. I'm currently filming in 1920 by 1080. I'm going to stop here for a second and talk about something very important. If you install Ubuntu and you have this option of changing displays, whether you are changing the resolution or the refresh rate, there's also an option in here, and some of the video cards have several options. And you do that, and there's an apply button that will come up if you try to change things, just like that. So if you hit apply and the screen goes black, but it doesn't return within like 5 or 6 seconds, don't turn the computer off. Whatever you do, don't turn it off. Leave it on for at least 30 to 40 seconds. It should revert back to your previous resolution mode. I don't know how many times I've heard this. People panic and they turn the computer off and turn it back on, and this would be an installed copy, and nothing works right after that. They have to reinstall the system because they didn't have any backups. So allow the system to take care of looking to see if your resolution and refresh rate is compatible. Most of the time you can't go wrong with 60 Hertz. Okay, my primary card on my host machine can go up to 120 Hertz, just to give you an example of that. And my primary also goes up to 4K. This one does not, looks like. That's as high as it'll go here. But again, I'm running a virtual machine. So when you're altering your resolution or refresh rate, I'm going to say it again, and even scaling, be careful. Hit apply, wait, and it should either ask you, is that acceptable or not? Once you answer the question, acceptable, it'll leave it. If you don't answer that question, it reverts back to the previous. That's pretty standard on most Linux distros or distributions. I just wanted to point that out. It's kind of important. All right, let's move on. So you see the size of this mouse pointer or cursor, right? Well, you're actually doing it in a different way than mouse and touchpad. You're only doing speed in here and your buttons left and right on your physical mouse. The pointer size is downstairs. I'll keep going downstairs. So it's actually in here, but let's continue on the path. So we have some keyboard things you can address in here. You can add printers if you like. Just make sure they're plugged in before you start that process. Removable media. What is it going to do with a CD if it gets inserted? Or DVD, if you got one of those DVD players. Anyways, this just ask is probably the thing that you want, because it'll have a message popping up on the screen. I don't know what this is. What do you want me to do with it? All right, so I skipped over color because I don't think anybody should be altering that unless they know what they're doing. But more importantly, some language things, maybe, your formats. Accessibility options, I'll stop here for a minute because let's face it, you clicked on this video, it says Linux for seniors. Maybe you are a senior. Maybe you're having issues with, maybe you want large text, for instance. Well, there you go. Now you have large text, and your menu just got a little bit larger, the text part. Regular size, okay, it's a little smaller than large size. Get the idea? Okay. All right, so there's some other accessibility options, like the cursor size. That just means the mouse pointer, this guy. So here's the smallest, using this pointer. And that's the large, or largest. Okay. Zoom, screen reader. All right, be careful turning that on. It'll probably freak you out. It'll be like a computer voice that'll start talking to you. All right, there's lots of little options in here. I'm not going to discuss all of them. Just be aware that's the accessibility option area. And if you want additional users, maybe you want to have your child use the computer or whatever, you can unlock this and create a new user. Once you unlock, there will be an add user. And there'll be only two types of users, a standard and an admin. My recommendation, if you're going to let children use your computer, create them account as a standard user. That way they have to get your help to install software and make system changes. Otherwise, if you make them an admin person, they can alter and, well, they can almost destroy your system. by making wrong choices. Let's put it that way. If you're the only user on the machine, no big deal, right? All right, let's move on. Default applications, if you have additional web browsers, you can select different ones. And the same thing with email and etc. The time and date thing, if you don't like the 24-hour format, change it to AM and PM, and then look at your time zone if it's incorrect. Okay. Again, the about thing, one more time, there's two different display window system, the way it opens up. There's Wayland and X11. If you recall, when I started this video, the X11 interface with Simple Screen Recorder works. The Wayland does not work with Simple Screen Recorder. That's one example only. All right, this is Ubuntu 2204 LTS. You can also use NeoFetch for that information. Where did I leave off? Stop there. So Shotwell. Open that thing up. We're going to click OK, and it's going to import my photos. I only have 8. It's got the resizer here also. My hidden command. What's this? This is magically moving on its own. What am I using? Yes, I'm using the control key, holding it down while scrolling up and down. So yes, I do have some weird wallpaper. Okay, let's move on. That was Shotwell. So I can click the little dot, or I can move my mouse pointer to the side, and you get this big old box with an arrow in it. Then it slides over. So you got your software updates and software updater, startup application, disk creator, Sudoku, to-do list, transmission. What if I want to go back the other way? Well, I could click the dot, or just kind of slide my mouse over on this side, and this little big box opens up. It's just showing you the last 3 icons on the other page, these. So as soon as you install something, these will rearrange themselves, so you'll have different icons. So right now it's showing the first icon on this row right here. That's all that means. Desktops. Search feature. So I was going to show this, well actually let me do it manually first, let you see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to do Tweaks, but I'm going to look for it in the menu. So basically if I were to come into this thing here, and you can also, sorry, wrong key, here. Click in here once and type in like TW, whatever it starts with. What is GNOME Tweaks and how do I install it? Well, I'm going to show you that through Terminal actually. But just what I'm going to use this for is moving these keys from here to here through window title bars. Some of your GNOME distributions also don't have these keys here, but if you can install this utility on those GNOME desktops, you're able to do that. Because this is how they look on some distributions. Or maybe like that. Anyways, that's what those two. The right and the left just means these buttons here, the 3. Now they're on the left. And then, now I need to close that, and then I'll open up the file manager. And you'll notice that all the keys are on this side now for resizing. So, you know, all of a sudden you start going, oh, they're on the wrong side. Well, this is for people that want to do this on purpose. Okay? So I'm going to close that and revert back to the standard one. Do I need to go look for the utility Tweaks? I could, but I could also use the search feature. Many ways of doing things. Title bars, right-hand side, done. There's other options in here. There's other options. Some of my other videos I actually show how to put in different mouse pointers. Not really going to cover that in this video. So, yeah, I kind of freaked you out when I did this. But anyways, I was just reverting back to the mouse pointer. So normally, anytime you change mouse pointers, you should log out and log back in, if not a reboot. But you can see there's some options in here. I just wanted to talk about these guys right here. Okay, close. All right, so I think I covered the menu pretty well. I think I went over to the, yeah, I did, all the way over to the screen here. So let's right-click on the desktop and see what we can do. Adding new folders. selecting all, arranging icon, and arrange by. You can also open up your terminal box here. So I'll talk about here in a second. Change the background, opens the settings box directly into backgrounds. Again, you can pick something here, or you can pick photos of your children, your pets and friends, or whatever you put into your folders and set it as wallpaper. All right, desktop icon settings goes directly into appearance, so light and dark theme thing, you know, different icon sizes, that kind of thing. Okay, right click. Display settings, quick thing here. Just as a reminder, if you change the resolution and possibly the refresh rate and hit apply, if it doesn't come back within 5 or 6 seconds, please don't turn the computer off, leave it alone, let it time out. It's normally under 40 seconds, normally. But if you got a really old computer, maybe you'll want to leave that for like a minute. All right. But most of the time when you're running these new modern desktops, you're running a computer system that's probably less than 10 years old. All right, I'm going to open up Terminal, and I'm going to not scare you. I am going to basically tell you a couple of commands to make you feel comfortable. I gave you those to have fun. And again, you can put in dates like cal space, either the first 3 digits of the month or the number of the month. So it'd be cal 12 or be December, for instance, instead of DEC, and then the year, if you're trying to guess at people's birthday. But how do you put this thing in here? What's the quickest way to install that application? Or even that NeoFetch application. Remember I did this? Not no. So I installed both of these using Terminal. So let me punch up clear. And basically I'm going to talk about this in detail, and it's not that hard to learn. So let's get comfortable a little bit here and not shy away from this. So I'm going to punch up the word history, like the History channel, but history. So you're going to use that as a reference. So these are the commands that I've performed so far. So you saw me do all those little calendar funny things about guessing at people's from month and year, their birthdays of the week, what day they were born. So how do I install this one? Well, that command is actually up here when I first opened this up, and I installed that. It's called ncal. That installs this calendar program. So if you want to think about it, instead of cal, it's ncal. If you punch in the word cal, believe it or not, Ubuntu will display this message right here. It'll say, you might want to perform that command. Now the software that you install with these commands here is not coming off they're coming off the internet, but through a package manager. It's the same source as this, so it's a secured source. It's not just anything in the wild, as one would say. Okay? Instead of using a graphical user interface like this one, this is using Terminal. It gets its software from the same place though. Does that make sense? Let me break the command down for you. Don't look at all this busy stuff. Just concentrate on line 4. Sudo, that command says super user do. It gives me elevated privileges to do something. Well, in this case, sudo space apt space install is the physical command for installing something. Okay, so package manager install or apt space install, that's the command. Some other distribution use a dash sometimes. An Ubuntu-based distribution. Okay, and there's other ones that are in Terminal that, Fedora would be like DNF or Red Hat. Different distributions, or PacMac or Pacman or something like that for like Arch. But anyways, let's not get into those weeds. So apt space install, another space, and the name of the program that you're looking for. You have to spell it the way they have it in their store. So ncal actually represents that. If you do a cal right out of Terminal before you install it, it will suggest you do this, believe it or not. If I perform NeoFetch, it'll also suggest I do this. Sudo superuser space apt space install. That is the full install command. Then it's waiting for me to hit a space. And what is the name of the application, sir? NeoFetch in this case. that it's installed NeoFetch. Now, I thought this was GNOME Tweak Tool, so it rejected me and gave me a nice little clue and said, you may want to use that command. It was that intuitive. So Ubuntu does a lot of work in the background apparently now. And they'll tell you, hey, you may want to try this one out. And I did, and it worked just fine. That's what I was using to move these keys from here to here. And also I can do other stuff in there, like change mouse pointers and stuff. But what I'm getting at, folks, is if you're installing something from terminal, you can do it very simply, as long as you understand how to do the command, which is here, and you can always refer back to my video. And then you have to type in the application what it's called in their database. So that one didn't work because that's not what they have listed in their database, but this one they had. But when I used this one, it actually complained and said, oh, you may want to do it this way. Wonderful feature. But again, you don't have to do any of this stuff if you don't want to. I'm just giving you some quick examples. So on that note, folks, the calendar thing, if you are wanting to see some of my other videos on larger calendars for other distributions, I did one for MX and one for Linux Mint for large calendars. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you subscribed. Take care, folks.